I was there as a technocrat minister, so I didn't play politics. Quality higher education, not any higher education, is essential to your success. DIU, no doubt, is transforming the lives of thousands of students for a better future, and not only for them, for a better future for their community and for their country. Assalamu alaikum, and a very, very good afternoon, dear audience, and the beloved listeners and whoever is watching. A great personality I'm going to present before you. You all must be knowing that we had a great convocation, the 12th convocation of Daffodil International University. And every convocation of Daffodil International University is a kind of a memorable moment, salivets that touches hearts. I'm going to present before you our wonderful convocation speaker, a great personality, visiting for the first time this part of the region, especially Bangladesh. And it is no other than a great professor, Professor Hassan Diab. So I'm going to tell you in short who you are going to listen, and a person with a high vision and a dignity, a person who actually drove a nation, no other than a country level. I'm going to tell you a little short bio before I present some question and present before you the convocation speaker of 12th graduation ceremony of Daffodil International University. Professor Hassan, Dr. Hassan Diab, is a distinguished academic engineer and a former Prime Minister of Lebanon. My dear audience, you are watching live. Hopefully, you enjoy listening to him. He has made significant contributions to higher education, serving as the Minister of Education and Higher Education of Lebanon, where he championed educational reforms, digital transformations, and inclusive learning policies. With an extensive background in engineering and academia, he has played a crucial role in shaping Lebanon's education system and fostering innovation. As a professor and leader, Dr. Diab has emphasized the importance of technological advancements, research, and AI-driven education. His leadership in both academia and governance highlights the vision for education as a driver of national development and global competitiveness. My dear audience, today we will have a wonderful sharing of thoughts with Professor Diab as one of our very, very prestigious convocations. Before I float this question, I'd like to introduce to you Professor Hassan Diab, sitting just with me in this wonderful Daffodil Smart City campus. Professor, I will start with a question from the point of view of future of education and innovation. And my question is this, that as a former Minister of Education and global thought leader, how do you envision the future of education in the next decade, particularly with the increasing influence of digital technologies and AI? First of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you. In response to your question, I think higher education will change over the coming decade more than it has changed over the past 2,000 years. There's no doubt in my mind that the way that universities will operate over the coming decade will transform significantly due to technological advancements and also due to the huge numbers of people wanting to, students wanting to go into tertiary education at the global level. So universities, as they have been operating over the past decades and centuries, can no longer handle the
huge numbers of students that are going to tertiary education over the next decade and two.
So I just want to have a small compliment, question of understanding that how do you look at the transformation of teachers in comparison to students who are coming into our schools for their future dreams?
Well, when universities change, when I say they will change, I mean the whole system is going to be affected, whether the way that students learn, whether the way that teachers will teach, whether the way that administrators will administer the institution. So definitely with regards to professors and teachers, they have to be more equipped in terms of technologically savvy faculty. So you can no longer say, I'm not going to use my laptop or the technological tools that are available today, because it's becoming a must in order to be able to pass the message to your students. That is, if you're talking about face to face, let alone virtual teaching, where you may be teaching thousands of students at the same time that are in different continents and different countries.
My second point comes into your serious leadership during your time in Lebanon as the prime minister. Lebanon's education system during your tenure, you introduced significant reforms. What are the most impactful changes you implemented? And how can developing countries such as Bangladesh learn from Lebanese experience in education policy and innovation?
This is a very long story. Actually, you are referring to the period when I was Minister of Education and Higher Education back in 2011 to 2014, almost 3 years, just under 3 years. Well, we obviously the first few months I put a very extensive plan, because the ministry involved not only K to 12 education, but also higher education and also vocational technical education.
Yes, like
So it's 1.3 million students, in thousands of institutions, educational institutions. So what I can say briefly is that we passed literally hundreds of decrees, draft laws, cabinet decisions that elevated the quality and the level of education and higher education. We, at the time, I remember I introduced entrepreneurial teaching for the first time to high school classes. I remember we, for the first time, organized PhD programs uh, with very specific requirements, and the requirements not only pertaining to students, but to who can teach as faculty PhD courses. We passed for the first time a higher education law, a new higher education law. The previous one was 40 years old, and you can imagine how much change took place in 40 years before them.
talking about fourth generation.
Absolutely, yeah. And I can't remember all, literally hundreds. But what I can say is that uh, 2.5 years later, the evaluation that took place by the World Economic Forum that is held in Switzerland every year, they produce a report at the end of the year, end of each year. The report they produced at the end of 2013, which is 2.5 years later after I took over as exactly, ranked Lebanon. I'll just give three KPIs. Ranked Lebanon globally out of 144 country, 13th in the quality of schools of business, 10th in the quality of higher education in terms of quality assurance, and fourth in the quality of teaching science and math, which we were preceded only by Singapore, Finland, and Belgium, as I remember.
Yes.
And in fact, the data is still there on the website. This is not our evaluation. This is the evaluation of the World Economic Forum. I can talk hours about that, but in brief, we did a lot of work, and this goes to prove where there's a will, there's a way. I was there as a technocrat minister, so I didn't play politics. I played administrative role for the benefit of the country as a whole, not for the benefit of a political party or a certain geographic area and so on.
What you call, like, if you are asked that, tell in one sentence the the magic behind this success of education.
Well, I mean, education is certainly the key to success. That does not mean that there has been many successful business people, businessmen and businesswomen that have not received university education and they were successful. However, the majority are people that have received, proper university education. So we don't want to talk about the outliers. We want to talk about the mainstream and quality higher education, not any higher education, is essential to your success. And when I talk about success, I'm not talking only about your professional career. I'm talking about the impact that you will make on your neighborhood, on your country,
Society.
in your society, in your community, as well as at the global level in some cases. So the idea is not only to have the know-how and the depth in the subject matter expertise, but also to have the breadth of knowledge in terms of soft skills that allow you to communicate with people. If you're the best engineer and you cannot communicate, you're going to fail. So you have to be able to communicate, you have to be able to do business, you have to be a leader, all the soft skills that allow you to be successful as a person that will reflect on your profession and on your community and on the way that you behave with the people in general.
Just one last in this particular segment is that the legacy that you have created, like on 13, and after 12 years, if you look at the education reform policies and its implementation, innovation, how do you look at it? Is it massively growth, or it is growing, or it's your expectation?
So if you're referring to Lebanon or in general? If you're referring to Lebanon, unfortunately, I'm one of the few, if not the only one in the history of Lebanon that was a technocrat minister. The usual occurrence is that you're dealing with political ministers that are named by their political parties and accordingly will behave to the policies of his or her political party. So you can tell that things will regress when you have political ministers. And this is why I'm in support of having technocrat cabinets in Lebanon, like in many places in Europe, and therefore technocrat ministers. If we had political parties like in the UK and the US, where the political parties represent the whole country, the whole type of sects, the whole types of religions, the whole social segments, well represented, like the Labour and Conservative, for example, in the UK, then fine. Then one party will win, then you'll have a shadow cabinet with the other, but that's not the case in Lebanon. Most, if not all, political parties are sectarian in nature.
So, I mean, that's actually a kind of, sometimes it goes by political agenda. Certain thing happens, but it takes more time.
Well, 10 years ago and before, universities in general, the vast majority of universities, it would be an exception to have a technology park within the university or related to the university. I think nowadays it's essential, and maybe it should be a requirement by the Ministry of Higher Education to have a technology park, to have innovative incubators that support innovation, that allows students to form their own companies, that is supported by faculty. It's a win-win scenario because, typically, if 10% of these companies succeed in the future, the university itself will also have shares in that company. So the university initially would be supporting, but eventually everybody is winning. So innovation should be the key, not just in a particular course, but in every single course that students take. So the research tasks, the papers that are required, the group work that is required per course in all courses should allow students to um, innovate and think outside the box, think differently. It's definitely a different way of thinking, and I encourage Daffodil International University, which, by the way, if I have a few words in a minute to talk about it, is a very impressive university. Should have a technology park that allows students from all disciplines to excel, to innovate, to create ideas that may culminate into new companies, new professions, and so on. Daffodil International University is in my I've seen literally hundreds of universities in over 90 countries during my 4-decade professional career. And Daffodil International University strikes me as a university that has managed to excel to the level it has reached more than some universities that has taken them 100 and 150 years. And I mean what I'm saying. I'm not just uh, trying to say nice words. It's really from little what I've seen. Daffodil University has reached very advanced levels, and students are very lucky to graduate from such a university because a man started with a vision, and I have much respect for Dr. Sabur Khan for making this vision a reality. And I'm extremely touched with the orphanage I saw today. I visited the orphanage, and this really touched a soft spot in my heart, and it shows the quality of the man and the goodness that he wants to instill in his society. So I'm very impressed with the setup, with the beautiful campus, with the facilities, with the expansion in terms of new schools, departments, specializations. I'm told there will be a mechatronics major soon, which is also, and I'm simply very impressed with the university, and I wish them the best of luck in their growth and expansion. I'm sure in 10 years' time they will exceed many universities. And if you look at the international rankings, they are among the top in many things at the Bangladesh level, and reaching, the top 3 to 400 in the health sector at the global level is not something small. Universities that are 150 and 160 years old took them to reach top 200 or top 250 or top 300. So amazing strides to DIU, and I'm very proud and I'm very honored to be in the convocation ceremony.
I'm very impressed because in a short visit, within this time, you really had a grasp of core understanding of our honorable chair. I must tell you that he's striving for excellence almost every hour, every minute. He's thinking something new. And the growth that you have seen, honestly speaking, is out of his dream and out of his such a brave heart to transform a land. You remember we started this campus in the year 2010, 11, 12. It was kind of only piece of land. You don't see any neighborhoods, no communities. And he started his university here in 12. And imagine in just 12 years, it has grown to such a steep growth because of his continuous drive for excellence, drive for innovation, drive for research, and he is continues to thrive. And you know what is happening as a result? I must tell you that these young talents all like I'm talking about the young colleagues of the departments, the young students in continuous innovation. Like he's opening up a lot of youth facilities. We have an innovation hub, we have a fab lab, we have a specialized labs. He's continuously talking about bring something new. He wants every graduate to have a job.
Where there's a will, there's a way. And there's a DIU, no doubt, is transforming the lives of thousands of students for a better future, and not only for them, but a better future for their community and for their country.
What happens as AI is reshaping industries and job markets? What skills do you think students should focus on to remain relevant in this AI day? And the second point is that how can universities balance? Because there is a traditional education system whereby there is a huge demand of AI related skills. How do we balance?
Well, AI is basically changing everything. I'll talk about higher education, but AI is literally changing everything. Um, Not just the way we do business, even the way we live, and obviously the way higher education institutions will operate. Um, if you look at what's happening, for example, in the corporate sector, uh, some have already been allocated, and I expect that over the coming decade, billions of dollars will be allocated for allowing reskilling of employees in the corporate sector. Because otherwise, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. And I'm talking in all sectors of the corporate sector, in all countries. You need to be upskilled, otherwise, because the industries are changing. As for higher education, AI is going to affect everything in higher education. It's going to do it very quickly within the next decade. So the way that teaching is carried out, the way that learning takes place, and the way that management will administratively run the institution, everything will be affected. Everything will be much more efficient. Students will learn more effectively, and faculty will spend more time on research because they will have technologies to help them in the teaching process. So, if we look at, for example, the student level, they will have chatbots that will allow them to have their own personal tutor. So, personalized learning is something that um, was unable to be implemented seriously. Exactly. So even in the same class of 20, students learn differently and at different paces, and they have certain bottlenecks, different bottlenecks. This will be pinpointed in AI based learning. That's if they're 20. If they're 20,000, it's even more, because we're talking about virtual teaching in the future, virtual universities, not just MOOCs where you have just a course or two. We're talking about the only way to handle this huge influx of students going into tertiary education. I'm not just talking about China and India. I'm talking about Kenya, Nigeria. I'm talking about Bangladesh, African countries. I'm talking about, Indonesia, where countries where there are hundreds of millions of people with a high percentage of youth. Virtual teaching is going to have to be the solution, where, virtual reality may be used, augmented reality may be used. It's already being used in different applications, might as well use it in teaching. So students will learn differently. They will be able to benefit from AI-based technology to pinpoint their bottlenecks, their weaknesses, so that they concentrate on them. Faculty will be able to teach larger numbers at the same time and do it much more efficiently. They will be able also to find the weaknesses of some of the students and therefore address it. So there will be a lot more personalized teaching and personalized learning. As far as the administration and management, obviously with AI, registration will be different. a merit scholarship will be different. Everything will be assessed automatically by the brain, the AI at the university. So big transformations waiting for us. And traditional universities will have to transform, otherwise they will be behind. And it's happening now. You can see that, a lot of universities are starting to consider it's not just about automation, it's also about implementing the AI powered technology in everything that universities and higher education institutions will do.
What happens is when you are actually, using AI, you are allowing students to use AI, and they're living in the AI. So even if you're a teacher teaching in the class without using AI, you're just kind of not a kind of a teachers that we are looking. We are looking for someone who really, encourage them to use AI and make use of it. But on the other hand, how do you think, or how do you look at this traditional concept of teaching? Will it be totally disappear in a couple of years?
It will not disappear. I mean, professors, it'll be different. Professors will be facilitators, will have to be innovators, will have to entice students to think outside the box. It's not about, reciting the material to them. This is no longer applicable. They can go and read the book. They can,
The piece.
so it's more on being outside the box. So you lay out the material, the concepts, and so on, and then you offer them tasks, whether these are term papers, whether they are research projects, whether they are, tasks, group tasks that they are carrying out. That sort of allow them to innovate, allow them to think differently, allow them to have uh, to encourage them to be outliers, so to speak, from the traditional and normal trends that were taking place before. So, no, you still need the professors. You still need but you don't have to waste his time in correction of thousands of paper. This will be done by AI. That also means that there will be a lot of biometrics that will play the role of ensuring that this is the right student doing the right task and so on, which is also part of the whole AI process and the whole
That
AI.
is the innovation we're talking about. Yeah, and which, yeah. I just want to ask you another very important question, which was hitting my mind, is we always face, quite a challenge in order to bring someone out of the box. How do you have any quick formula like to transform someone to bring a teacher who is potentially very good, but he or she is not able to come out of the box? So, what do you suggest in that case?
Well, as I said, the concept of innovation and the idea of pushing students to become entrepreneurial has to be done across the board in every course, not only in the technology courses or in the software engineering courses. If you're doing social sciences or humanities, it's the same. You have to push students to think differently, to innovate, and you can simply make sure that the bulk of the grade is going there. Students will go for it, will make.
They will have that motivation.
Exactly. It's not about reciting the material. It's about, hands-on where the students have to do tasks on his own and also part of a group because you want him to or her to be able to work together as a group in order to make sure that communication skills are instilled also with his peers or her peers. So whatever the course is, and this is the role of the professor, and that's how he should or she should change. Make sure that the right tasks are being given to students in order to allow them to innovate. Let them free, let them fly, let them think differently. Uh, uh, so that they can come up with new ideas that may translate with the technology parks and the incubators they may have in the university campus to new companies and new firms and
That's the
new
vision
technology.
of the Hollywood chef. Like he wants every teacher and student come up and having their own startups, and he's pushing on it. So I was very, very wonderful. It was listening to you, and Dr. Hassan Diab, it was a great pleasure that we had a chance to have a conversation on this. Very important is that that's your 4 decade long experience in shaping the education and thinking of the future. At this point, I just had a small short poem written for you. I want to tribute to you, to your presence and to your wisdom. So it's a very short poem and I'm reciting. I will look at my audience as I recite for you. In the halls of wisdom, bright and white, a scholar walks with humble stride. You're very humble. A leader bold with vision true, who shaped the path of knowledge. From Lebanon's heart, his voice arose to light the way where learning grows. Through trials, fears, you have to face a lot of things. Through trials, fears, he held the line with hope and changed the grand design. For youth he dreams, for minds he strives, to spark the fire where future thrives. Innovations torch his lips so hard, a beacon bright in education sky. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It's wonderful time
Thank you.
for this wonderful discussion you cater for our audience. Audience, you had a great listening to a person who shaped a nation. And I'm very proud that I had a chance to meet you and to talk to you.
I am humbled by your words. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.